Hey everyone, welcome back here to my channel where I play Planet Zoo. When I made the video on the Linnaeus Two-Toed Sloth this Monday, I just feel like I have to do something with these. And luckily, we actually have the brown-throated Three-Toed Sloth in the game as an exhibit animal already. So I kind of thought, can we combine that? And then we kind of needed something on the ground, so not everything in the habitat is bound to the trees. So I thought, why not the capybara? So if you want to learn a little bit about these animals, there's 3 in here, so I can't go into depth with all of them. But if you want to hear something about them, or simply see how I built this big habitat for them, then please keep watching. Okay, this is probably gonna be the biggest build we're gonna have here in Smalzie Zoo, and that is legit since it is for 3 animals. And I had no idea honestly about how big to make it, but luckily I did make it big enough. I did actually measure really briefly and just thinking it should be big enough, and then I just wanted to center focus with foliage and enrichment, so everything would naturally be drawn to the middle of it, both animals and guest point of view. This will for the animals be mainly because we're gonna have the water in the middle, and we're gonna have the feeding in the middle, and all of the enrichments in the middle. For the guest, it will be because we have this big open space with, again, water and all of the colorful flowers in the middle to make it pretty. And we also will have some sunlight in there. The area around it will be closed off with big trees, big heavy trees and bushes. So it will be very much in the shadow. And all of the plants out there will be either green or white, and therefore not draw as much attention, hopefully. For those of you who have been here for a while, you know I was mad when Frontier decided to make the brown-throated Three-Toed Sloth a exhibit animal. I will say though it works well considering it's a exhibit animal, but I love to build for the animals, so I do not really like using exhibit boxes at all. However, in this manner, actually, I try to make it make sense, and I think I actually managed to. So I want to make it look like it's the climbing rig that's naturally in here. Sadly, we do not have any wood pieces that matches. I would like to be able to build out for it with the same wood. I couldn't, so I just had to settle with trees that is surrounding it. So you will actually see all of the Three-Toed Sloth in that climbing rig, of course, all the time, and then every sloth that is around is our Two-Toed Sloth, which is the Linnaeus Two-Toed Sloth, also called Unau, and I'm using Unau because it's much easier to say, and also because I think it will help most of you guys telling apart when I talk about the Three-Toed Sloth, the one from Frontier, and the Unai, which is the mudded sloth. Again, we also have the different than the one from the game is a Three-Toed Sloth, and the mudded one here is a Two-Toed, but just to make it very clear, we have the Three-Toed Sloth and the Unau. And then, of course, we have the capybara, which I actually forgot. It was my plan all along to have a capybara here in Smalzie Zoo, but it wasn't intended for this specific habitat. I put it in here basically because I wanted something closer to the ground, especially because some of these climbing habitats where you go in, you can kind of hurt your neck if it's big and you go and look up all the time. And at the same time, it just brings in more life than you can have animals on different angles of you. I really enjoyed that very much, and I thought the capybara fitted nicely since both of our sloths are South American animal. What I then forgot was that my plan was to have the lesser capybara since it's smaller. Now, understand me right, I do consider the normal capybara or greater capybara or the capybara we have here as small enough to be in Smalzie Zoo, but since it is Smalzie Zoo and I do have the mod for the lizard capybara, it is a little off not using it. But yeah, we have the greater or the normal or the standard capybara, depending on what you want to call it. So this is of course a completely tropical habitat, though some of the animals also live in multiple biomes, but completely tropical South American habitat. Anyway, let's take a look at these two sloths first of all. And I will say that yes, one are two-toed and one are three-toed, but this is not on every foot. The two-toed sloths here, the Unao, still have 3 toes on the hind legs, but only 2 on the front legs, where the brown-throated three-toed sloth have 3 both on the front and on the back. Both of them can actually appear to have this greenish colorations, which is not their fur coloration, but because they move so slow as they do, the algae in their fur actually can live there fairly well, because it does need some kind of movement to shake off algae or rub off algae or anything to remove algae, and therefore the algae are really thriving in sloth overall. Of course, in captivity, keepers can do a lot to keep these algae to a minimum or completely remove them, but in the wild, no one is really helping them out here. If you are like most people, I think you like me would assume that the sloth is such a small branch of animals and therefore would be in the same family, but they are actually not. Though they both are in the Phylosa order, which is the order for these, weirdly toed animals. I don't know how to say it differently, but it's like anteaters, tamadua, sloth of course, tree anteaters, and so on. These are weird toed clawed animals, but when it comes specifically to the family, the three-toed sloth belongs in the Bradypodidae family, which hold the brown-throated three-toed sloth, which we have here, the pygmy three-toed sloth, the pale-throated three-toed sloth, and then we have the kind of off-brand sloth here, which is the maned sloth, but I do believe that is extinct at this point. However, looking at the Linnaeus two-toed sloth or the Unao, they have the family of the Megalonychidae, which only holds the Unao, and the Hoffman's two-toed sloth, and I believe they're also mud out on that currently. I'm not sure if it's updated, but it is there. Anyway. And because of this, they also have different genuses, which is their first name of their Latin name. For the brown-throated three-toed sloth, that would be Bradypus, which matches with the family name, which makes their Latin name Bradypus variegatus. And for the Unao, it actually is not their family name. They have an off name here, which is the Colopus, which make their Latin name Colopus Didactylus, which again, Latin names can be really, really difficult to pronounce, but I just go with my guts on most of them because I could try and look it up, but again, couldn't be sure that people before me haven't made mistakes either. Already mentioned that these both are South American tropical animals, but they also have a few countries that overlap, but also a few that doesn't. For instance, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Venezuela is where they both live, and that's the only places they will now live. However, the brown-throated three-toed sloth also live in Bolivia, Costa Rica, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, and Argentina. So they clearly have a little more space to go around in. For biomes, they also have a few more where they both live in the forest and rainforest biome, again in the tropical climate zone. But again, the three-toed sloth have a few more biomes to go around in, being the anthropogenic, montane, forest, and agricultural biome. But I kind of understand why the three-toed sloth gets a little more around, even though both of these are listed as having a top speed of 0 kilometers per hour, but the Unao actually takes the crown and are currently listed as the slowest animal in the world, which is quite impressive. I know it's a sloth, which in Danish literally is called lazy animal, but still, to being even slower than other sloths, it kind of takes the cake. Currently, both of these species are suffering the most for the same thing, which is deforestation. This happens specifically mostly in Colombia and the Atlantic forest, which is in Brazil. Deforestation doesn't only hurt the animals losing their home right now, but it also hurts their future generations, since again, these don't move fast, so needing to go even further to meet up with the new blood to reproduce with is really a hassle. So now they are left with the possibility of either breeding where they are, which could be inbreeding really fast, or simply not breeding, which isn't much better alternative for a lot of animals. Luckily, even though both of their numbers are unknown, they are really considered strong and therefore are least concerned animals according to the IUCN Red List. Their numbers are probably unknown specifically because they can be really hard to find. Either they're hiding really tall places up in the trees, or they simply just hiding that well in the really thick trees, which probably is why they are still going strong, considering a lot of animals in these areas could easily kill these if they wanted to. For instance, the jaguar would actually be able to climb a tree if it really wanted to, but since there's so much food on the ground or other places in the tree that is so much easier to find, they seems to be going for anything but sloths. Personally, I do not know if sloths taste good, but I do not think that any carnivore would be picky if they are hungry enough. If you want to learn more about these sloths or other sloths, I have linked the pages I have used down below. And with a few clicks, honestly, you can go and find all of the other sloths if you also want to read more about them. I highly recommend them. They are fascinating animals, but I would also like to just spend a little time talking about our beautiful capybara. And I have just checked because I know Leaf, I believe it was Leaf, who made a mod on the, not on a capybara, but a mod changing the interspecies enrichment for the capybara called, I think it's called Capybara Friends, which is just making them have interspecies enrichment with all of the animals and make all of the animals then not attack them, which I just think is funny because objectively looking at these, I do not understand why people love these so much more than other animals. I really love them, but again, I love most animals. But even people who really don't like rats and mice because they are rodents, they really love the capybara, and that just doesn't make sense. Because it's also a rodent, very specifically because it is in the rodent order called Rodentia. I am aware of the fact that they do not look like a mouse or a rat, and also have some different features and are very much bigger, but still, it's still a rodent and it still have a lot of rodent or rodent-like behavior. For instance, the way their entire inner system of bodily everything is built very much like a rodent, and therefore they can also devour a lot of the things that other rodents can, though mostly they would stay with grasses and aquatic plants and things like that, but they can actually eat more like omnivores if they really needed to. That doesn't mean they would choose to, but the digestive system is built so they could manage it if needed. And this specifically makes me wonder why no one ever made a horror movie about a capybara, because that would be terrifying in all the right ways. Anyway, they belong in the Cavidae family, which have around 23 species, which is a lot of these more cute rodents. I think most people would call them. Again, I still love rats and mice, but I do understand that some people don't. But for instance, we have the domestic guinea pig in here. We have the mara, we have the cavy. Again, we have the lizard capybara, we have the Brazilian guinea pig, more maras, more cavies, more guinea pigs, and so on. I think that's pretty much what we have in here. That's also cavies. Yeah, it seems like it. So we have this family group, but once again, since the capybara is the biggest rodent in the world, it is clearly also the biggest member of the Cavidae family. Zooming in a little more, we are in the Hydrocoeros genus. And let's see here, they are not alone. We have the lizard capybara also in here, which I do not understand. It kind of looks extinct in here. I didn't think it was, but it is kind of listed as extinct. That's a little weird. And then we have the Hydrocoeros gaylordi, which is also kind of looking extinct. I have no idea what it is. I have never heard about it before. But yeah, that's the family, the genus, and that makes the Latin name of the capybara Hydrocoeros hydrocaris. I think it's pronounced, again, not sure. As mentioned, it is the biggest rodent in the world and can weigh up to 66 kilos, being up to 145 pounds, which is actually as much as a human, a very small human, a very thin human, but still a human can weigh the same. However, they live a little shorter. They only live up to 12 years, but have a pretty nice top speed of 35 kilometers per hour, being 22 miles per hour. They have a max length of 134 centimeters, being 52.8 inches, and a max height of 62 centimeters, being 24.4 inches. Once again, we actually have a overlap with two other animals in here. Again, South America, tropical, but they also actually live in Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Peru, and Venezuela, which both of our sloth also lives in, but then also Argentina, Bolivia, and Paraguay and Uruguay. So a little more widespread than the sloths, but not a whole lot. They also are confined and only live in the tropical climate zones. And once again, we are looking at forest and rainforest as our unai. And then I do not think we overlap with our three-toed sloth more than that. I'm just checking, sorry. No, we do not overlap more than that. But then we have for the capybara, again, it is a subaquatic animal. So we have the marsh, wetlands, lakes, freshwater swamps, riparian and rivers. And then also besides that, we can add the savanna. So a healthy variety of places, which again helps a lot of animals actually keeping their numbers strong, because the more places they are able to survive, the more space they have to stretch over, and often the more individuals they would have. And this also future-proof them for instance, climate changes. That, for instance, if the lake dries out a little bit, well, then it maybe turns into wetlands where they can still live. If the wetlands dry out, then they may become a savanna where they also can live. So all the times they can survive for a lot longer period. Again, climate change is something that always will happen no matter what. If it didn't, we would never have had any ice time or anything like that. Though I do recognize that it happens a little faster at this point than it should be. But it's just to say, every species that can do this and survive in multiple biomes and even in multiple climate zones are much more future-proof. And this is really a good thing, since the capybara is hunted in other regards. Specifically, they are hunted by humans. And this is, and then again, also the jaguar could also clearly take them. But us humans hunt them both for their meat as food, but also for grease that can be found in their very thick and fatty skin. That should be really nice to use for a variety of things. And then we also can see that it actually should have some kind of pharmaceutical value. What I find interesting is that they do describe it here as pharmaceutical value and not as traditional medicine, which kind of give me the idea that this is actually kind of proven to have an effect compared to ancients. We do this before because our ancestors did it, but I'm not sure because it doesn't specify here. The capybara is, according to the IUCN Red List, listed as a least concerned animal, and that is very partially because their numbers are so strong that they are really considered a pest of a lot of places, especially around farmers. Again, they are rodents and they will eat and eat and eat and eat till they burst. So if they find a nice field with plenty of food, they will hang around the list until there's literally nothing left, which I understand for the farmer's point of view. But again, I think they're cute, but they're probably still delicious. And on that note, guys, enjoy the cinematics and I will come back afterwards. Okay, guys, that's all I got for you today. I really hope you enjoyed it. And as always, guys, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you know the next time I upload a video. I really hope to see you again, either in the comments below or in the next video. Bye, guys.